Hello, ladies, and welcome to our new Bible reading series. I'm Cindra Enlow from heavenlyplace.com, and this year, as we read through the Bible, we'll explore God's incredible story of love and redemption. If you're looking for a Bible reading plan that's simple and doable, this is it. So let's get started and discover the heart of God together, one chapter at a time. Hello, ladies, and welcome back to our one-year Bible reading plan. This is week 27, day 3. And our scheduled reading for today is 2 Kings chapters 10 through 13, and then 2 Chronicles 24. Now, if you'll remember, Solomon has died. Israel has been divided into two kingdoms, Israel in the north and Judah in the south. And as we move through the history of the kings, we start to see a cycle. Some start strong and fall away, and some never follow God at all. And then there's a few that truly try to lead with faith and stay committed to God. But in today's reading, we'll see just that there's a whole lot of names that start with Jehu or Jeho, Jehoash, Jehoahaz, Jehoiada. And, with that prefix, Jehu actually comes from Jehovah, the name of God. But back then, people often named their children in a way that reflected something about God and his character and his promises, which is a great thing, except when we're dealing with all these names, they start getting a little confused. And even in this reading in the Kings, we're going to have a Joash that reigns in the southern kingdom and a Joash that reigns in the northern kingdom, almost at the same time or around the same period. So that really gets confusing. But in 2 Kings, we'll see that Jehu, who fulfills God's judgment on Ahab's house, doesn't walk in complete obedience. And then we switch down to Judah, where a child named Joash is crowned king after being hidden away in the temple. And he's going to be 7 years old when he's crowned king. And he starts strong under the priest Jehoiada, but after Jehoiada dies at 137, I think, Joash turns away from the Lord and even eventually kills Zechariah, Jehoiada's son. And then in 2 Chronicles 24, we're going to see that it is a repeat story of the story of the young King Joash and how he rebuilds the temple, but then also kills Jehoiada's son. But we see through this that even as these kings lead the people astray and lead them into idolatry, God still sends prophets to them trying to win them back to him. And here's where we see the heart of God. We see that he's faithful even when his people aren't. He keeps speaking. He keeps reaching out to them. He keeps sending messengers and working through prophets like Elisha, even when leaders are failing. And he also works through punishment. He allows Israel's enemies to come and overtake them, hoping that that will bring them back to him. And of course, Israel does go through a cycle of, disobedience, repentance, and then obedience and then disobedience again. Okay, ladies, let's get started in our reading today. 2 Kings 10 to 13 and 2 Chronicles 24. 2 Kings 10. Now Ahab had 70 sons in Samaria. Jehu wrote letters and sent them to Samaria to the rulers of Jezreel, even the elders, and to those who brought up Ahab's sons, saying, Now as soon as this letter comes to you, since your master's sons are with you, and you have chariots and horses, a fortified city also, and armor, select the best and fittest of your master's sons, set him on his father's throne, and fight for your master's house. But they were exceedingly afraid and said, Behold, the two kings didn't stand before him. How then shall we stand? He who was over the household and he who was over the city, the elders also, and those who raised the children sent to Jehu, saying, We are your servants, and we will do all that you ask us. We will not make any man king. You do that which is good in your eyes. Then he wrote a letter the second time to them, saying, If you are on my side, and if you will listen to my voice, take the heads of the men who are your master's sons, and come to me to Jezreel by tomorrow this time. Now the king's sons, being 70 persons, were with the great men of the city, who brought them up. When the letter came to them, they took the king's sons and killed them, even 70 people, and put their heads in baskets and sent them to him to Jezreel. A messenger came and told him, "They have brought the heads of the king's sons." He said, "Lay them in 2 heaps at the entrance of the gate until the morning." In the morning he went out and stood and said to all the people, "You are righteous. Behold, I conspired against my master and killed him. But who killed all these? Know now that nothing will fall to the earth of Yahweh's word, which Yahweh spoke concerning Ahab's house, for Yahweh has done that which he spoke by his servant Elijah." So Jehu struck all that remained of Ahab's house in Jezreel with all his great men, his familiar friends, and his priests, until he left no one remaining. He arose and departed and went to Samaria. As he was at the shearing house of the shepherds on the way, Jehu met with the brothers of Ahaziah, king of Judah, and said, "Who are you?" They answered, "We are the brothers of Ahaziah. We are going down to greet the children of the king and the children of the queen." He said, "Take them alive." They took them alive and killed them at the pit of the shearing house, even 42 men. He didn't leave any of them. When he had departed from there, he met Jehoiada, the son of Rechab, coming to meet him. He greeted him and said to him, "Is your heart right as my heart is with your heart?" Jehoiada answered, "It is." "If it is, give me your hand." He gave him his hand, and he took him up to him into the chariot. He said, "Come with me and see my zeal for Yahweh." When he came to Samaria, he struck all who remained to Ahab in Samaria, until he had destroyed them, according to Yahweh's word which he spoke to Elijah. Jehu gathered all the people together and said to them, "Ahab served Baal a little, but Jehu will serve him much. Now therefore call to me all the prophets of Baal, all of his worshippers, and all his priests. Let no one be absent, for I have a great sacrifice to Baal. Whoever is absent, he shall not live." But Jehu did deceptively, intending to destroy the worshippers of Baal. Jehu said, "Sanctify a solemn assembly for Baal." So they proclaimed it. Jehu sent through all Israel, and all the worshippers of Baal came, so that there was not a man left that didn't come. They came into the house of Baal, and the house of Baal was filled from one end to another. He said to him who kept the wardrobe, "Bring out robes for all the worshippers of Baal." So he brought robes out to them. Jehu went with Jehoiada the son of Rechab into the house of Baal. Then he said to the worshippers of Baal, "Search and see that none of the servants of Yahweh are here with you, but only the worshippers of Baal." So they went in to offer sacrifices and burnt offerings. Now Jehu had appointed for himself 80 men outside and said, "If any of the men whom I bring into your hands escape, he who lets him go, his life shall be for the life of him." As soon as he had finished offering the burnt offering, Jehu said to the guard and to the captains, "Go in and kill them. Let no one escape." So they struck them with the edge of the sword. The guard and the captains threw the bodies out and went to the inner shrine of the house of Baal. They brought out the pillars that were in the house of Baal and burnt them. They broke down the pillar of Baal and broke down the house of Baal and made it a latrine to this day. Thus Jehu destroyed Baal out of Israel. However, Jehu didn't depart from the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, with which he made Israel to sin, the golden calves that were in Bethel and that were in Dan. Yahweh said to Jehu, "Because you have done well in executing that which is right in my eyes, and have done to Ahab's house according to all that was in my heart, your descendants shall sit on the throne of Israel to the 4th generation." But Jehu took no heed to walk in the law of Yahweh, the God of Israel, with all his heart. He didn't depart from the sins of Jeroboam, with which he made Israel to sin. In those days Yahweh began to cut away parts of Israel, and Hazael struck them in all the borders of Israel, from the Jordan eastward, all the land of Gilead, the Gadites and the Reubenites, and the Manassites, from Aroer, which is by the valley of Arnon, even Gilead and Bashan. Now the rest of the acts of Jehu, and all that he did, and all his might, aren't they written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? Jehu slept with his fathers, and they buried him in Samaria. Jehoahaz, his son, reigned in his place. The time that Jehu reigned over Israel and Samaria was 28 years. 2 Kings 11. Now when Athaliah, the mother of Ahaziah, saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed all the royal offspring. But Jehosheba, the daughter of King Joram, sister of Ahaziah, took Joash, the son of Ahaziah, and stole him away from among the king's sons who were slain, even him and his nurse, and put them in the bedroom. And they hid him from Athaliah, so that he was not slain. He was with her hidden in Yahweh's house 6 years, while Athaliah reigned over the land. In the 7th year, Jehoiada sent and fetched the captains over hundreds of the Karites and of the guard, and brought them to him into Yahweh's house. And he made a covenant with them, and made a covenant with them in Yahweh's house, and showed them the king's son. He commanded them, saying, This is what you must do. A third of you who came in on the Sabbath shall be keepers of the watch of the king's house. A third of you shall be at the gate, sir, and a third of you at the gate behind the guard. So you shall keep the watch of the house and be a barrier. The 2 companies of you, even all who go out on the Sabbath, shall keep the watch of Yahweh's house around the king. You shall surround the king, every man with his weapons in his hand, and he who comes within the ranks, let him be slain. Be with the king when he goes out and when he comes in. The captains over hundreds did according to all that Jehoiada the priest commanded, and they each took as men those who were to come in on the Sabbath with those who were to go out on the Sabbath, and came to Jehoiada the priest. The priest delivered to the captains over hundreds the spears and shields that had been King David's, which were in Yahweh's house. The guard stood, every man with his weapon in his hand, from the right side of the house to the left side of the house, along by the altar and the house around the king. Then he brought out the king's son, and put the crown on him, and gave him the covenant. And they made him king, and anointed him. And they clapped their hands, and said, Long live the king. When Athaliah heard the noise of the guard and of the people, she came to the people into Yahweh's house. And she looked, and behold, the king stood by the pillar, as the tradition was, with the captains and the trumpets by the king. And all the people of the land rejoiced and blew trumpets. Then Athaliah tore her clothes and cried, Treason, treason. Jehoiada the priest commanded the captains of hundreds who were set over the army, and said to them, Bring her out between the ranks. Kill anyone who follows her with the sword. For the priest said, Don't let her be slain in Yahweh's house. So they seized her, and she went by the way of the horses' entry into the king's house, and she was slain there. Jehoiada made a covenant between Yahweh and the king and the people, that they should be Yahweh's people, also between the king and the people. All the people of the land went to the house of Baal and broke it down. They broke his altars and his images in pieces thoroughly, and killed Mattan, the priest of Baal, before the altars. The priest appointed officers over Yahweh's house. He took the captains over hundreds and the Karites and the guard, and all the people of the land, and they brought down the king from Yahweh's house, and came by the way of the gate of the guard to the king's house. He sat on the throne of the kings. So all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was quiet. They had slain Athaliah with a sword at the king's house. Joash was 7 years old when he began to reign. 2 Kings 12. Jehoash began to reign in the 7th year of Jehu, and he reigned 40 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Zibiah of Beersheba. Jehoash did that which was right in Yahweh's house all his days, in which Jehoiada the priest instructed him. However, the high places were not taken away. The people still sacrificed and burned incense in the high places. Jehoash said to the priest, All the money of the holy things that is brought into Yahweh's house, in current money, the money of the people for whom each man is evaluated, and all the money that it comes into any man's heart to bring into Yahweh's house, let the priest take it to them, each man from his donor, and they shall repair the damage to the house, wherever any damage is found. But it was so that in the 23rd year of King Jehoash, the priests had not repaired the damage to the house. The king Jehoash called for Jehoiada the priest and for the other priests, and said to them, Why aren't you repairing the damage to the house? Now therefore take no more money from your treasurers, but deliver it for repair of the damage to the house. The priests consented that they should take no more money from the people and not repair the damage to the house. But Jehoiada the priest took a chest and bored a hole in its lid, and set it beside the altar, on the right side as one comes into Yahweh's house. And the priest who kept the threshold put all the money that was brought into Yahweh's house into it. When they saw that there was much money in the chest, the king's scribe and the high priest came up, and they put it in bags and counted the money that was found in Yahweh's house. They gave the money that was weighed out into the hands of those who did the work, who did the oversight of Yahweh's house, and they paid it out to the carpenters and the builders who worked on Yahweh's house. and to the masons and the stonecutters, and for buying timber and cut stone to repair the damage to Yahweh's house, and for all that was laid out for the house to repair it. But there were not made for Yahweh's house cups of silver, snuffers, basins, trumpets, any vessels of gold or vessels of silver of the money that was brought into Yahweh's house, for they gave that to those who did the work and repaired Yahweh's house with it. Moreover, they didn't demand an accounting from the men into whose hand they delivered the money to give to those who did the work, for they dealt faithfully. The money for the trespass offerings and the money for the sin offerings was not brought into Yahweh's house, it was the priests. Then Hazael king of Syria went up and fought against Gath and took it. And Hazael set his face to go up to Jerusalem. Jehoash king of Judah took all the holy things that Jehoshaphat and Jehoram and Ahaziah, his fathers, kings of Judah, had dedicated, and his own holy things, and all the gold that was found in the treasures of Yahweh's house and of the king's house, and sent it to Hazael king of Syria, and he went away from Jerusalem. Now the rest of the acts of Joash and all that he did, aren't they written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? His servants arose and made a conspiracy and struck Joash at the house of Millo, on the way that goes down to Silla. For Jozachar the son of Shemaiah and Jehozabad the son of Shomer, his servants struck him, and he died, and they buried him with his fathers in David's city, and Amaziah his son reigned in his place. 2 Kings 13. In the 23rd year of Joash the son of Ahaziah, king of Judah, Jehoahaz the son of Jehu began to reign over Israel in Samaria for 17 years. He did that which was evil in Yahweh's sight, and followed the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, with which he made Israel to sin. He didn't depart from it. Yahweh's anger burned against Israel, and he delivered them into the hand of Hazael king of Syria, and into the hand of Ben-Hadad the son of Hazael continually. Jehoahaz begged Yahweh, and Yahweh listened to him. For he saw the oppression of Israel, how the king of Syria oppressed them. Yahweh gave Israel a savior, so that they went out from under the hand of the Syrians, and the children of Israel lived in their tents as before. Nevertheless, they didn't depart from the sins of the house of Jeroboam, with which he made Israel to sin, but walked in them. And the Asherah also remained in Samaria. For he didn't leave to Jehoahaz of the people any more than 50 horsemen, and 10 chariots, and 10,000 footmen. For the king of Syria destroyed them and made them like the dust in threshing. Now the rest of the acts of Jehoahaz and all that he did, and his might, aren't they written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? Jehoahaz slept with his fathers, and they buried him in Samaria, and Joash his son reigned in his place. In the 37th year of Joash king of Judah, Jehoash the son of Jehoahaz began to reign over Israel in Samaria for 16 years. He did that which was evil in Yahweh's sight. He didn't depart from all the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, with which he made Israel to sin, but he walked in them. Now the rest of the acts of Joash, and all that he did, and his might with which he fought against Amaziah, king of Judah, aren't they written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? Joash slept with his fathers, and Jeroboam sat on his throne. Joash was buried in Samaria with the kings of Israel. Now Elisha became sick with illness, of which he died. And Joash the king of Israel came down to him, and wept over him, and said, my father, the chariots of Israel and its horsemen. Elisha said to him, take bow and arrows. And he took bow and arrows for himself. He said to the king of Israel, put your hand on the bow. And he put his hand on it. Elisha laid his hands on the king's hands. He said, open the window eastward. And he opened it. Then Elisha said, shoot. And he shot. He said, Yahweh's arrow of victory, even the arrow of victory over Syria. For you will strike the Syrians in Aphek until you have consumed them. He said, take the arrows, and he took them. He said to the king of Israel, strike the ground. And he struck 3 times and stopped. The man of God was angry with him and said, you should have struck 5 or 6 times. Then you would have struck Syria until you had consumed it. But now you will strike Syria just 3 times. Elisha died, and they buried him. Now the bands of the Moabites invaded the land at the coming in of the year. As they were burying a man, behold, they saw a band of raiders, and they threw the man into Elisha's tomb. As soon as the man touched Elisha's bones, he revived and stood up on his feet. Hazael king of Syria oppressed Israel all the days of Jehoahaz, but Yahweh was gracious to them and had compassion on them, and favored them because of his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and would not destroy them, and he didn't cast them from his presence as yet. Hazael king of Syria died, and Ben-hadad his son reigned in his place. Jehoash the son of Jehoahaz took again out of the hand of Ben-hadad the son of Hazael the cities which he had taken out of the hand of Jehoahaz his father by war. Joash struck him 3 times and recovered the cities of Israel. 2 Chronicles 24. Joash was 7 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 40 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Zabiah of Beersheba. Joash did that which was right in Yahweh's eyes all the days of Jehoiada the priest. Jehoiada took for him 2 wives, and he became the father of sons and daughters. After this, Joash intended to restore Yahweh's house. He gathered together the priests and the Levites and said to them, "Go out to the cities of Judah and gather money to repair the house of your God from all Israel from year to year. See that you expedite this matter." However, the Levites didn't do it right away. The king called for Jehoiada the chief and said to him, "Why haven't you required of the Levites to bring in the tax of Moses the servant of Yahweh and of the assembly of Israel, out of Judah and out of Jerusalem for the tent of the testimony?" For the sons of Athaliah, that wicked woman, had broken up God's house, and they also gave all the dedicated things of Yahweh's house to the Baals. So the king commanded, and they made a chest and set it outside at the gate of Yahweh's house. They made a proclamation through Judah and Jerusalem to bring in for Yahweh the tax that Moses the servant of God laid on Israel in the wilderness. All the princes and all the people rejoiced, and brought in and cast into the chest until they had filled it. Whenever the chest was brought to the king's officers by the hand of the Levites, and when they saw that there was much money, the king's scribe and the chief priest's officer came and emptied the chest and took it and carried it to its place again. Thus they did day by day and gathered money in abundance. The king and Jehoiada gave it to those who did the work of the service of Yahweh's house. They hired masons and carpenters to restore Yahweh's house, and also those who worked iron and bronze to repair Yahweh's house. So the workmen worked, and the work of repairing went forward in their hands. They set up God's house as it was designed and strengthened it. When they had finished, they brought the rest of the money before the king and Jehoiada, from which were made vessels of Yahweh's house, even vessels with which to minister and to offer, including spoons and vessels of gold and silver. They offered burnt offerings in Yahweh's house continually all the days of Jehoiada. But Jehoiada grew old and was full of days, and he died. He was 130 years old when he died. They buried him in David's city among the kings, because he had done good in Israel and toward God and his house. Now after the death of Jehoiada, the princes of Judah came and bowed down to the king. Then the king listened to them. They abandoned the house of Yahweh, the God of their fathers, and served the Asherah poles and the idols. So wrath came on Judah and Jerusalem for this their guiltiness. Yet he sent prophets to them to bring them again to Yahweh, and they testified against them, but they would not listen. The Spirit of God came on Zechariah the son of Jehoiada the priest, and he stood above the people and said to them, "God says, why do you disobey Yahweh's commandments, so that you can't prosper? Because you have forsaken Yahweh, he has also forsaken you." They conspired against him and stoned him with stones at the commandment of the king in the court of Yahweh's house. Thus Joash the king didn't remember the kindness which Jehoiada his father had done to him, but killed his son. When he died, he said, "May Yahweh look at it and repay it." At the end of the year, the army of the Syrians came up against him. They came to Judah and Jerusalem and destroyed all the princes of the people from among the people, and sent all their plunder to the king of Damascus. For the army of the Syrians came with a small company of men, and Yahweh delivered a very great army into their hand, because they had forsaken Yahweh, the God of their fathers. So they executed judgment on Joash. When they had departed from him, for they left him seriously wounded, his own servants conspired against him for the blood of the sons of Jehoiada the priest, and killed him on his bed, and he died. They buried him in David's city, but they didn't bury him in the tombs of the kings. These are those who conspired against him: Zabad the son of Shimeath, the Ammonitess, and Jehozabad the son of Shimrith, the Moabitess. Now concerning his sons, the greatest of the burdens laid on him, and the rebuilding of God's house. Behold, they are written in the commentary of the book of the Kings. Amaziah his son reigned in his place.